Yo, what is good, y'all? It's your Vols ATB crew, or 50% of it. You got me and Drew here, back with another episode of Hard Knocks UT. Um, I think this is probably the last two guys you would want on a duo show from this squad together.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
kind of going to bear in with us, kind of have fun with it. Going to give y'all a reminder, if you want to, chime into the YouTube chat, you can go in there, Around the Block Network, comment live on there. We can, make some comments pop up, or if you're joining us in the Twitter feed, we'll be reading comments there. But kind of just back from another week, a really big week. Like, I feel like every week we have now, it's like some crazy breaking news. You had Tennessee going against Auburn in the baseball series that ended up being a nasty series, and Lindsey Nelson, a bunch of Tennessee football stuff, and then kind of on top of that, you got some NIL and recruiting laws kind of looking to change, and a lot of movement out there in college football and college sports that are making the NCAA on their way out kind of think about how they're going to panel it. But I guess before we get into all that, Drew, how you doing, man?
I'm just living the dream, Brando. Just living the dream. Over
Got
here,
that beautiful fence behind
patio, backyard patio, enjoying the sunshine, trying to get a little bit of that vitamin D, So
yes, it's not the Lindsey Nelson patio, but it's a patio for sure. It's a little vibe out there right behind you.
Oh yeah, I mean it's definitely not the Lindsey Nelson at left field, but the Pal patio, the double P, it gets the job done. So
at least you're not Pal pissed off, but
I
guess if you want to go ahead and let's hop into the baseball series. Tennessee playing Auburn. A crazy game one that was really close until the seventh inning. Then Tennessee puts up 17 runs. A game two that was going Tennessee's way, and we all saw that Tennessee took the L there. And then to come back day three, I feel like on some much needed energy and say that we kind of put Auburn in their place. But we played a really good baseball team. I feel like Auburn is kind of looked back on it. They're up there with Texas A&M and Georgia, others in my opinion that are kind of slept on in the SEC just because how dominant we are. But to go in there and get two out of three, I feel like is always a good time. What were your kind of thoughts on game 1 and 2?
Yeah, I mean, I thought this was, it's funny. I mean, I think I've probably said the same thing now for our last couple opponents, but this is one of the toughest series that we've had all season. I mean, Auburn's a very underrated baseball team. Their pitching rotation is actually really good, and I know that when you look at the stats from the first game on Friday night, it doesn't look like it, but honestly, up until the seventh inning, that game was like a nail biter. I mean, Tennessee just had an unbelievable seventh and eighth inning where I think we wound up getting 15 runs in the span of 2 innings, which is just absurd,
ridiculous.
It's insane. But I mean, we fell short in game 2. I mean, a little bit of kind of blew at the very end over there at the top of the ninth when they got 4 runs over there, but. You gotta give credit where it's due, man. Auburn's a good team, and they were gritty this entire weekend. I mean, they didn't give up at all whatsoever, Saturday or Sunday. But I thought it spoke volumes though about just our resilience on Sunday with Beck's 2-run bomb. And dude, Ben Joyce was unbelievable.
Oh man,
those last couple innings. The fact the man threw nearly 30 pitches. I mean, 30 pitches and
ridiculous.
I think he had wound up having 20 pitches over 102 and then 3 pitches at 105. I mean, just unbelievable. Yeah, the guy is just a freak of nature. But huge series win. Vitello got a little redneck angry in there. Love to see that. Casually just threw the bat back in their dugout. So
he tossed it
like that. Tossed. I mean, come on. Let's be real.
As Tony Vitello said today on the drive, and I quote, "I didn't throw the bat back. I tossed it and said, 'Here's your fucking bat.'" End quote.
I mean, it may look like toss, but you could tell there was a little anger in there when he threw that back. So I consider it a little bit more of a toss personally, but the energy from this team, dude, is just it's immaculate. You see a lot of the comments about the Auburn fans complaining about how vile and nasty Tennessee fans were this weekend. You know what? I love that. All right,
good.
Yeah, good. I'm glad we're hated. I am so sick and tired of everyone coming over to our place and talking about how nice it is to beat us and with the family-friendly atmosphere. Nah, throw that shit out the window. I want us hated again, and that's exactly where we're going. And I love it with every ounce. But yeah, I mean, and then Thursday, last night they broke the home run record for the season at 108 home runs. They averaged 2.34 home runs a game, which is 6th in the history of college baseball. Obviously, the most in UT baseball history. But just hold on with me for a second here, Brando. You got to listen to these stats real quick, dude.
I'm ready.
I looked it up today. I was even mind blown myself when I was looking these up. So Tennessee leads in the SEC in the following offensive categories: batting average, slugging percentage, on base percentage, runs scored, hits, RBIs, doubles, triples, home runs, total bases appearances, walks, and stolen bases. That's all in just offense, right?
Oh my God.
Then when you go into pitching, they lead in the ERA, opposing batting average, innings pitched, batters struck out, wins, hits allowed, runs allowed, walks allowed, doubles allowed. There's only
fuck, man?
They only record like 28 categories for team categories in the conference. Tennessee, out of fielding, pitching, and offensively, lead 19 of all of those 28. Like,
that's fucking ridiculous. I'm not a numbers guy, but
it's never been done before. Like, and so I was talking to this like with my old man the other day. This team, with the trajectory it's going right now, if they make it to the World Series and obviously win the College World Series, I would argue this is the greatest team in the history of college baseball. I really genuinely believe that.
I mean, even if you take the orange colored glasses off, you still like look at this team like it's the best team in college baseball. And that one graphic that's going around on Vol Twitter right now, it's like every other team's like batting average and getting on base or something ridiculous like that. I don't know the exact thing, but it was like Tennessee way over here, and then like all the other teams are in the middle or on the like front half, like absolute domination where it's just ridiculous. And you said 19 out of 28 different categories, like that's just absolutely ridiculous. And for our pitching, like, what were you gonna say?
Tennessee could literally lose every single game for the rest of the year, get swept in every series, and they would still host a regional.
Yeah, see, that's just absolutely fucking ridiculous. Like, absolutely fucking ridiculous. And I talked about it last week. Like most of these teams, like in college baseball, especially, they've just kind of, it's like a 1 year thing. You're not seeing like teams that are coming in and being like absolutely dominant. But you talk about that COVID year that ended short. Tennessee was 15-0. Last year, you went to the regional, made it to Omaha, kind of fell short there. But this year, in the third year in a row, like you're doing absolutely ridiculous, and you're excelling everything you've been doing, having program best in the last 2 years, and you're excelling the program best records. And like you said, breaking the home run record, that's absolutely ridiculous to still do with however many more games left in the season. Like Tennessee's absolutely hitting dingers. You mentioned it, Auburn and them. Everyone's saying that we're juicing bats or Tennessee's doing this and that. And if it's not juicing bad, so our pitching, like no one talks about our pitching, but our pitching's really, really underrated. I wanted to give a shout out to Chase Burns first because game one, coming off the Missouri series and the Florida series, like he kind of went out there and he looked like a little freshman. He did look like a freshman against them and Bama. And to come out there and bounce back, I feel like in game one of Auburn, it was absolutely ridiculous. Like he went out there, pitched really well. I feel like that was key in game one. And then our bats finally came alive. But without Chase Burns in game one, it's kind of, that's not happening. Game two, he kind of had Blade Tidwell's experience. I feel like we all saw that. He was really, really rusty. I'm curious to see how they evaluate him and Dolander coming back and who they decide to go with. I think we'll probably see that going into the Kentucky series, what their main focus is. Yeah. But on top of that, I feel like that kind of had a lot to do with it. I'm not going to put it all on Blade because eventually Sonny D comes up and just absolutely smashes that ball. And you kind of felt like that was coming, but you didn't see it coming. But when it happened, you were just like, damn. But that guy, absolutely ridiculous. I was kind of curious about that part because we kind of avoided pitching to him all night. And then you let Redmond Walsh go out there and pitch to him. I kind of would rather have a guy like Ben Joyce go out there in a game two that mattered. I really wanted to see that energy at nighttime and see him go out there and throw heat. But on top of that, speaking of Ben Joyce, he came out there game three. I think he started pitching in the seventh inning, and that was like some of the most work we've seen from Ben Joyce. And to go out there and have 4 pitches over 104, break the college baseball record, second in baseball history behind Aroldis Chapman. That series he had against that guy where he broke the record, like it was absolutely ridiculous. Ended up going to a 3-2 count, and the guy got a base hit on him. But I think every pitch in that at bat was like 102, 103, like just absolutely throwing heat. And then he came out in some more at bats and got that fastball going, and he comes in with that filthy slider. Like him and Coach Anderson, they've really worked on that slider, and to have a guy that throws heat like that, and then you can put that third pitch in your rotation, going to the next level. Like if I'm an MLB scout, like you're absolutely drilling out the mouth, seeing like even if it's not a strike every time, like you could easily fix what Ben Joyce is doing. And I saw in his interview, like when he was talking about it, like when you have a defense like that, you can just go out and just throw strikes and have fun because you got the speed. Go out there and have fun. But I feel like that was really key. A really crazy moment that happened in game 3. Jordan Beck hit that home run. I was in my Instagram group chat, and I was like, if Jordan Beck hits this home run, I'm changing my Instagram handle to Brando Huncho. And sure enough, next pitch, smacks the ball. Absolutely gave Tennessee life in that game 3 to seal it off. And I feel like, Auburn game 2 with the whole bat scenario, they were super, super cocky. I don't know what it is with SEC teams, but them winning one game against us is like their Super Bowl what Kentucky fans think we are in football. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous.
And I
like,
mean,
they were.
and I understand it too, because this team, I mean, like, God, I love the Vols, man, but this team is the most obnoxious team I've ever seen in my
We're
life.
Fucking
like,
assholes.
They are, and I love it. I mean, I love that that's who we are now. I mean, Grant, if it was like Alabama, I'd hate it with a passion. But like,
Facts.
So, I mean, you're going to have teams where they beat us. It's going to be a big deal. But like, not to mention, we're 41-4. I mean, like, we don't even have 5 losses this year. I mean, and I believe the second best team in the country, which I believe is Oregon State, this right now, I think they have 10 losses already this year alone. So like, that just tells you of like how big, like how rare it is for us to like, just lose a game. And so I expect it to be a big deal. I find it quite flattering, honestly, that people want to celebrate that, they beat Tennessee. But yeah, I mean,
I wanted to point out, it's like absolutely blew my mind because last night we played Alabama A&M, won that game, broke the record. And then I kind of looked around for the rest of the league in the SEC, and you had Arkansas lose at home, Vanderbilt lose at home to Louisville. Like, everyone that says they want the smoke, like, I don't know about that. I think teams are starting to realize, like, later in the season that they're far and far away from what Tennessee is doing right now. And to say you want to meet Tennessee or anything like that, it's just probably a stupid take. But if I'm another fan and I see Drew Gilbert doing what he does, and I see Jordan Beck and the whole Mike Concha thing, then go look at the Florida series where you take a picture in the helmets and you're just having fun, and then you do like you playing in Lindsey Nelson, you have like 5,000 Tennessee crazy fans ready to absolutely riot, and you try to be the villain like fucking Auburn was in game 2 before their bus got hit. They came into that game, went absolutely berserk, the whole War Eagle hat. Like, absolutely pissed me off. Game 3 was just poetic justice to me because Philip Fulmer once said, we hate the whole entire state of Alabama. And last time I checked, Auburn's in the state of Alabama. There's also key of Tennessee owning teams in Alabama with Alabama A&M. So, I mean, just to get that series win and to go in midweek, kind of keep it rolling and finally get hot again, I'm just excited for going forward. I feel like there's no reason we shouldn't go this weekend and go out there and sweep Kentucky.
Oh, yeah, easily. I mean, and Kentucky's a decent baseball team, but they're nowhere even remotely close to the level that Auburn is, or I mean, honestly, or even Florida for that matter. I don't see why not. We can't sweep Kentucky. The one thing that we do have to have, though, and honestly, just to get it like just taken care of and like forgotten about, we need Auburn to win a couple games against Arkansas this, because if
that looks so good for us.
If they win a couple games, if they win this series against Arkansas, we sweep. We win the SEC, which is amazing considering we would still have two more conference opponents left with Georgia and Mississippi States. But yeah, I mean, we need to be hoping that Auburn, which I think they do, I think they got a really good chance against Arkansas. We need them to take care of business over there in Fayetteville.
Oh yeah, and I mean, props to Auburn. Like, I obviously have a lot of hatred for Auburn just because the whole basketball fiasco thing with in the SEC tournament, and then the whole Bruce Pearl's daughter and everything. And then whenever it comes over here baseball, their first thing is, Tennessee's juicing bads, or it's the absolutely worst fan base. Do you want people to come into your stadium and have fun? Like, is that like I mean, I guess, athletics, like, yeah, you think about athletics and, sports in general, like, it's a good environment, a good fan environment, but how are you going to be the same person that shit on a ruthless environment? Like, if I'm a sports fan and I go into a place where people are passionate as Tennessee fans, whether it's heckling fans or not, like, we've never gone and hurt a kid. We never went and hurt an umpire or anything like that. Like, I feel like just having passionate fans but having passionate fans like we are, man, like, it's great to see all these other teams like absolutely getting full on child about it, like full on rage.
It's like I've said, man, like when other schools start hating your guts about how your fans react or how that we're beating your ass and something, you're doing something right. Like, when you start get hated again, you're doing something right. What team out there is actually good? And you're like, you know what? I actually like them. Like, no, there's no one.
No.
It's not Bama. Sure as hell not Bama. It's not Ohio State. It's not Notre Dame. It's sure as hell not Clemson. And it's sure not Georgia either. Like, so if you're getting hated again, that's because you're doing something right. So bring on the hate. I want the hate.
Yeah, even Tony V was saying on the drive earlier in his interview, he was talking about if you have a guy like Drew Gilbert on your team, you're like gonna absolutely ride for him. But if he's on the other side of that squad other people, other teams absolutely hate Drew Gilbert when he gets hit by a pitch and he's ready to charge the mound, or his energy he brings, or he's not scared to say a damn thing. And like, having guys like that do round the bases, or like Ben Joyce in the batter's box, like guys absolutely bringing it, ready to go out there and win. And like even against Alabama A&M, like we had guys that probably haven't played all year that got their first or fifth or sixth home run all year. And just to go down the depth chart and like on your third or fourth rotation, you still got guys going out there and hitting dingers and absolutely, putting up numbers, 16 runs a game. Like it's absolutely ridiculous. Like to know that people say, oh, it has to end eventually. I don't think that what Tony V is doing here is going to end as long as he can recruit, which has never been a problem for him. Like it's going to be a continuality. And I don't see any team this year going into the SEC tournament or Omaha in general. Like Tennessee's been resilient. Like all year they've been kicking ass, but lately they've been having some tough series, taking 2 out of 3 games, finding a way to bounce back when it mattered. Auburn and Bama both, you won 2 out of 3, and you finally got that first little taste of competition of people that do have your number. But you go out there, win, get it done. I just see like if you can do it against them, there's no reason we shouldn't go out here, and if you're ready and prepared, go out there and win this whole thing.
Oh yeah, no, I mean absolutely. It's as far as from like a talent perspective, how we've performed all year. There's not really a team, maybe besides Texas, but even Texas though. I mean, they got swept by Oklahoma State this past weekend as well. So
yeah,
there's not really a team out there. But one of those things, man, as well, that like can we, when it matters the most, can we actually deliver? I mean, that was the thing about Arkansas last year, was that Arkansas was this team that was just purely dominant all regular season last year, just like a little bit similar like how Tennessee was, but then they blew it against NC State in the Super Regional. So,
nice.
That's it's one of those things. But I think with this coaching staff, like the way this team plays is like they're not getting ahead of themselves. Like they're not focusing on, they're not focusing on Kentucky. Like how, if they're playing someone that day, they're going to be putting their full undivided attention towards them. And I think that's a huge difference among a lot of different, not just Tennessee baseball teams, but college baseball teams that we've seen in the past.
Yeah. And, kind of mentioning Kentucky, I feel like every series, you think about the Florida series or you think about the Auburn series and the Bama series, there's been something that kind of happens in Knoxville, or, us going to Gainesville that kind of makes people get fired up to make Tennessee the villain. Like, I'm just wondering, how we already react to Kentucky fans in basketball and everything with our whole rivalry, and then thinking they're on the come up in football and just to get silence there. And now we're rolling in with the number 1 team. I'm just ready for all the reactions that are going to come from Kentucky fans to go out there on an away series, play in Kentucky and to go out there and play against this team. I'm just ready because I know there's no way that Tennessee's getting through this weekend without a new villain arc. We're going to do something that's going to piss people off for us being so good. And, I'm okay with that. I say good. Fuck it. Like,
good. I mean, just piss them off. Like, who cares? Like, I love that we're hated. Like, we haven't been hated since I was probably 5 or 6 years old. So, like, yeah. Piss them off, get them redneck angry, get them fair, get furious, get them Maynardville mad. Do whatever you got to do.
Oh yeah, man.
Do whatever you got.
A lot of the same reactions I've seen to it about baseball and us doing what we're doing is like, if they're doing this in baseball, like just imagine if like what they're doing on the field and football starts, going on. And we're kind of getting a taste of that because, like we've been talking about it for like weeks and weeks and weeks about Tennessee needing pieces in the football field and everything like that. And I guess it kind of transferred over there. Tennessee, the last 3 days, I guess if you count the walk-on we got today, per walk-on, they landed 3 transfers in the last 3 days. I kind of hinted at it last week. I think I said last week I expect 2 transfers in the next 5 days. And sure enough, we got Brew McCoy, finally, wide receiver, former 5-star recruit, top 10 player in the nation of the 2019 class. Absolutely a guy that could, if he does, come here, can have any expectations that he wants. There's no reason he shouldn't come in here and shine. It's all up to him at this point. I feel like he's going to be handed the keys to be successful in this offense. Finally got a guy that's on the outside of Cedric Tillman. This offense just got like a lot, deadlier. And we might not even be done at the wide receiver position or offense in general. Tennessee's still trying to reach out to Jalen Robinson, wide receiver from UCF, one of the hype was old guys that formerly put up 1,000 yards in this offense as a receiver. And then the Sam Houston State running back, I can't even think of his name off the top of my head, but I think he's committed to Colorado right now. And I think he'll be also here for a visit. Let me find his name. I think it's Ramon Jefferson. Yeah, Ramon Jefferson from Sam Houston State. So on top of that, then you look at the defensive side of the ball. Tennessee got a former Nashville native, Andre Turrentine, 4-star recruit, top 10 safety in the nation. A huge piece on the defense. I think we talked about it last week, going into the 5-0 thing. We need defense. We need safeties. You can't go out there with Warren Burrell and whatnot, and have that depth out there and expect to be good. So you finally got a new piece, an in-state guy that was probably, looked apart, but, didn't want him in the last staff. And then Hypa goes in there, he enters the portal. You finally get to talk to him after they enter the portal, tell him to come home, and he comes home. So a huge piece kind of fills that void. And I think Tennessee transfer portal ended 2 days ago. So a lot of these names are going to get moving pretty fast. They also are after that Arizona State defensive lineman. What's the fucking name? Omar Norman Lott. He had 30 tackles, 2 sacks last year. He'll be here this weekend. So I think this weekend might be like the most transfer action Tennessee's had all week, and it's like the last week possible. But I guess if you want to kind of touch up on those 2 transfers and what you think what impact do you think they have on the football field this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think, Brew McCoy is going to have a massive impact. The fact that the kid has 3 years of eligibility is huge for us, especially. But if you really think about, I mean, just from a paper perspective, where you got, Tillman on one side, and on the other outside you have Brew McCoy, and you potentially have Jalen Hyatt over there in the slot. Dude, we have so many weapons from a wide receiver perspective that, like if you think last year was exciting to watch, like I feel like this offense is going to take another level. You know what I mean? Especially with the talent aspect that Brew McCoy has, because he was a 5-star prospect coming out of high school. And Andre was a desperate get that we needed to have more than anything else, especially in our secondary. And like no disrespect to the kids that are there, like Warren Burrell, and all the no disrespect at all. Like, I mean, we appreciate you being here. We love that you give your all for Tennessee, but we needed some talent, and good Lord, we needed some depth in the secondary. So I felt like that was a huge get. I don't know necessarily if he'll start, but I think he'll certainly, at least in the first couple games, get a significant amount of playing time before getting into a starting role later on. What I would like to see, though, at least from Heupel, is continue on getting some more depth on the defensive line, and especially in linebacker, man. Like, I know, like, as of right now, it looks like that Aaron Beasley is going to be starting at linebacker along with Jeremy Banks, but we can't have that happen. We need depth there, like depth. So, for all this, like, last 3 days, 3 commits, can't complain about that.
I'm on top of the world.
I mean, I wouldn't say we're on top of the world, but like,
I am mentally right now. It's like a little high. Like I look up this morning, I'm like, are we getting another transfer? And I saw the walk, and I'm like, oh hell yeah, we are. Like, let's go.
So I mean, like, don't get me wrong, like I'm thrilled about like those, like Brew and Andre committing to us, but like we still got some pieces that we need to work on, but we're certainly looking in the right direction. And I mean, I don't think anyone could disagree that Tennessee will have one of the top 2, if not the best, offense in the SEC this year.
Oh yeah, I think you got to look at that. Especially on the defensive side, you touched on that first. You got to look at the linebacker position. Obviously, I would be more comfortable having another piece there, but you also have to get Juwan Mitchell to buy in. Last year being cut short, having the shoulder surgery, he kind of just disappeared and has kind of been quiet in practice. But it sounds like he's kind of more locked in mentally and going to be a go to be healthy. I know he didn't do any spring ball activity, but hopefully when the full season rolls around, you can kind of have him there. If you can have him there and maybe get like one piece, there's not really any impact guys in the portal right now, linebackers at that position that I would want to certainly take a take on. And as pending like tonight or tomorrow, there's going to be no more entries. So I think kind of there, you're kind of just done unless you look at like a FCS or D2 level kind of guy that kind of shined over there in spring ball.
Yeah.
Kind of like they're doing with the Sam Houston guy on offense. But there's also on the defensive side, I think Tennessee really, really wants an edge rusher. There's Noah Reens, Oklahoma edge rusher. He entered on the last day. And then Elijah Winston, he entered yesterday from USC. 2 guys, I think they're like about 6'4", 235, have the body to come in and play immediately. So if you can get, a defensive edge rusher guy to go alongside Tyler Barron, Byron Young on the outside, kind of have a guy to rotate in with the freshman coming in, I'd feel a lot better on the defensive line side to kind of help us there. Because I feel like our defense really lacked with like no pass rush at all. So the DBs kind of just got torched. Like I feel like a lot of that wasn't on our DBs. A lot of that was kind of pressuring into the ball.
Yeah.
But
I mean, like, it's not all in the secondary for sure, but like that's where I'm saying, like, our starting 11 in general on defense is really, on paper, is not that bad. It's just the difference between us, say, like LSU or Texas A&M, and especially Alabama and Georgia, is that they have those depth. They have the depth in those positions with 2, 3, 4, even 4 guys that can be able to rotate and play at a high level. And we're just not there yet. But if you can get another defense lineman, like you said, to tag along with Barron, like that'd be significant. I mean, just any depth at this point is good.
I mean, you got to have depth in this defense, man, because on top of that, from those other defenses, like they have so much more talent, but at the same time, they're not on the field like we are. Like teams know that they can't fake injuries anymore. If that ever does get changed, like they can still do it now. But on top of that, another advantage of being able to, slow down our offense and get us down is tire out the defense, stay on the field as long as possible, get as many first downs as you can. And as long as you get that first down, you're more likely to score on our defense. I want to see that change because, if a team got a first down or got past the 50-yard line last year, like there was no chance you thought Tennessee was stopping them or they weren't kicking a field goal. Like it wasn't happening.
Yeah.
So on top of that, like I would love to see some guys like, the snap change, the count isn't going to change, but I would love to see more guys get like conditioned enough to be able to play and, get a stop, get off the field. And that's going to be hard, especially with our depth issue. But, you got to recruit, and maybe you can sell that to recruits or defensive recruits, but it's just kind of hard to do. Offensively, I agree with you, man. There's no reason why this shouldn't be the best offense that Tennessee's seen in some recent history. Like we broke so many records last year, but I always talk about Heupel. Like everywhere he's gone, UCF, Missouri, Utah State, Oklahoma, every year too, it's substantially bigger in percentages or yards in general and on the field product. Like it's just absolutely ridiculous what you can do. And you got to think he came in here last year right before spring ball, installed his offense, and he only installed 25% of that offense, y'all. Like he has 75%, sitting at home that he still has to teach these kids. So like a lot of this we're going to see this year is going to be completely different.
Yeah. No, I mean, and that's the thing too. Like, to go back a little bit to the defense, though, I got to feel a little bit sorry for them in a sense, considering that these poor guys, I mean, like, I love our offense. I love that we can score in about 5 seconds, but good God, man. Like, if you're a defensive lineman, like a nose tackle, that you got to be, like, pissed sometimes where, like, they score fast and you got to go back out there for another 10 or 15 plays. But, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us were really concerned about, like, when, Tyon Evans, and Dee Beckworth and a couple other guys, running back, kind of, like, transferred over. But, like, Jalen Wright being back, Jabari Small, who I think is going to make a huge step forward, Justin Williams, I think he's going to get a lot of playing time, too. I mean, I'm really excited about seeing him. I think, like, we're even I think you could even argue that we're even better this year at the running back position we are last year with Tyon and, Jabari. So,
I think you still need a guy that can go out there that's experienced, that can get to that second level. And that's why I really like this Sam Houston guy, because he's a 1-year guy. You're going to bring in your recruits anyway. And you're not going to always leave. You want your own guys. You have this 1-year guy, Roman Jefferson. He's currently committed to Colorado from Sam Houston State, but that can always change. He's absolutely ridiculous, kind of like a bowling ball, 215. It gives me a super Tyon Evans, John Kelly vibe. This guy breaks tackles. He gets to the second level, and he breaks those tackles as well. And that's a lot you didn't really see with Jabari. Jabari is a really good running back. But, getting to the second level, getting past the safeties, you never really saw him break free until that Kentucky game. If you can have a guy that can come in on top of that, and not to mention that Jabari was banged up, that shoulder was hurting a lot last year, having the surgery in the offseason, getting that cleaned up. Having another guy that's experienced to come in there and get to the next level, like that would just make this offense go even crazier. And I know Heupel wants that because I looked it up earlier. In his first and second year at UCF, Heupel had 4 running backs with over 70 carries. That's like absolutely insane. And for everyone talking about his vertical passing game, this man absolutely values the running game. And I'm sure he would want an extra running back in his pocket. So, really excited to see what they do there. I know time's probably running out, trying to get the best fits now, probably, I would think. I think that's why you're kind of seeing them look at Jalen Robinson and other guys that, they might be good at those positions and they might, have everything they need. But if you can get an impact guy, the best fit for you, you don't want to waste that roster spot that you have set in your back pocket. Like you want the best guys who can come out and compete. And I mean, all those guys would be one and done. So just more of that, have more draft picks in your pocket. And I guess we can mention that later, but on the field, like Tennessee is just doing great. And last year, those guys going in and getting drafted this past week, that was pretty exciting to see. So,
I mean, the most draft picks Tennessee's had, or in 1 year, been the entire Pro era, which is,
what a shocker.
Oh, it's phenomenal. I mean, Vols picks was just raging inside about that. Like, that we had 5 guys draft, this past weekend. But, I mean, I think it really speaks. I mean, you could argue that those were Pruitt's guys and everything, but I think it speaks volumes in the sense of, like, how well Heupel was able to develop Velus Jones, and Gardner was able to develop, Matthew Butler into a 4th, 5th round pick. No one, I mean, even myself, no one thought that was even a possibility.
No shot.
I mean, and the fact that Alontae Taylor got, drafted as a 2nd round, I mean, it's incredible. Like, I think that's going to be a huge recruiting pitch with a lot of these kids, not just kids that are in the portal that are like just 1-year deals, but especially kids coming out of high school and be like, look, we just got 5 guys, which is the 11th most out of all of college football this year, drafted this year. in 1 year of my system, imagine like what round you're going to go in if you develop with me for 3 years. I mean, like,
yeah, I mean, just looking ahead to next year, you already have Hendon Hooker. He's a sure, his first, second round pick. You got Cedric Tillman. Brew McCoy is here. If he excels, he'll be gone in 1 year. He has 3 years left, but he could easily leave next year after his COVID and redshirting year. I expect him to maybe put up like 1,000 yards and have another guy with Cedric. If you land Jalen Robinson, that guy has 1 year left anyway, and there's no reason that guy won't be a super great slot in the NFL. Absolutely ridiculous speed. I feel like if you're a transfer, even a recruit in general, like Carnell Tate and other guys like that, the Francis, offensive tackle, you're looking at Tennessee and being like, dang, like not only are they having like some of the best collective pitches, but they're also like they're putting this talent on the field, getting them drafted, and like you said, like guys that you wouldn't even expect to excel the halves. I mean, I'm not going to give any credit to Prue, not because he doesn't deserve it, which he doesn't deserve it at all. A lot of those guys were also Butch Jones guys, and they went through 2 separate staffs to begin with, got absolutely nothing, and then a new staff comes in, gets the job done. And like Matthew Butler, that was probably, I think he's like the biggest steal of the draft, because that kid played his heart out this year, 70 snaps a game, going out there, he's huge, man. And then, to adapt to the NFL speed, the game's going to slow down from him, man, because he's getting so many plays on defense. Like, he's going to go out there and I feel like shock a lot of people, which will be really, really great to see a really great guy there. So,
and I think that's another recruiting pitch as well that Heupel, I think, will wind up using as well to like a lot of these defensive recruits, to be like, look, like we're playing this ridiculous fast-paced offense. Yeah. And like, we're not going to believe how well this is going to have you prepared for the NFL, because when they start playing that slower pro-style offense, you're just going to be able to burst through in those gaps and be able to make a play almost, within seconds. So huge recruiting. I mean, huge weekend recruiting-wise, draft-wise. I mean, just W's all around with the football program. Heupel's just, he's crushing it. I haven't been this confident with a coach, at least in the football program, in quite a long time. So it's nice for a change, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm already looking forward to September 1st against Ball State. There's no way I'm missing that game now. With the addition of Brew McCoy, I feel like a lot of people aren't realizing we're going to have our own little Brew chant every time he touches the ball. I feel like that's going to be lit in Knoxville, Neyland Stadium especially. And then, a brand new Neyland. I feel like there's no reason. I mean, we're at March 4th, right? Or May 4th right now. And I'm already looking forward to September 1st. Like, I'm ready for these guys to go out there, run through the tee in a night Neyland game and see what this product on the field, because I'm still sticking to it from last week. I think they're starting out 5-0. These offensive weapons. You get these defensive transfers, get you an edge rusher, an interior guy, Drew. Tell me that defense isn't going to be better.
The defense will be better, but you're setting yourself for disappointment. We've beaten Florida twice since 2004. Like, no, I'm not going down this road. Like, we've already discussed last week. I'm not doing it again. I've been heartbroken too many times because of it. So
I feel you.
We're
breaking every offensive stat next year. I'll fucking say that easily.
Oh, I mean, I think we'll wind up being ranked. I think at the end of the year we'll probably be a top 20 team, but I'm not.
I think we're gonna break the top 10, bro. They're running 4 wide next year. We're gonna run 4 wide next year instead of 3. You're also opening up that offense. It's gonna be so good.
Okay, so playing devil's advocate, then how are we gonna be able to stop anyone when we score a touchdown every 5 seconds? I mean, our guys are gonna get.
Man, I don't know, but we can worry about that in fucking September, Drew. Fuck it. I don't know. I'm just thinking about the offense, man. It's so easy to forget about defense and like the safeties and linebacker core when you look at that offense, man, and the potential of it. Because like I don't know, like I have the full orange colored glasses on. You have a fucking 6'3", 220 guy in Brew McCoy. You got Cedric Tillman on the other side. You got a refurbished best of his life Jalen Hyatt in one slot. And if you go 4 wide on the other side, you land Jalen Robinson. Or even if you have Jimmy Callaway in there, like I still feel confident with Jimmy Callaway. But if you put another 1,000-yard proven receiver under hype, then that's exactly what he's doing on the other side of that ball. Like, it's going to be crazy the amount of fun that Hendon Hooker has, man. It's like absolutely ridiculous. And for him to only go out there, throw 31 picks and 3 interceptions in his first year of running a brand new spread offense, like I'm just thinking about what this man's going to do. I've been seeing a lot of people, a lot of mock drafts from next year in the top 10 that have like Will fucking Levis at the number 2 pick or the number 2 quarterback going out the draft. And I almost wanted to throw up. Like, it's absolutely disgusting, the disrespect that Hendon Hooker's getting, man. It's just crazy.
I mean, Hooker's good. I mean, but NFL coaches are going to draft guys that fit their system, though. And I mean, I there's not any other coach in the world that plays an offensive system that like Josh Heupel does. So like they're going to have their concerns over that. I think Hooker's going to get drafted in the second round personally, and I think he'll wind up having a decent little NFL career. Yeah, I mean, I don't agree with Will Levis being the second overall pick.
Oh no,
I think that's just silly. I mean, it's probably
what they're fucking smoking.
Todd McShay or Mel Kiper, but they also had Jake Fromm being drafted in the first round.
Oh yeah, and fucking he's the ghost of the NFL.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't even think kids in the league anymore.
Yeah, Chris Foster in our YouTube chat pointed out a great point that's going to make me actually reiterate this 10-2 thing, going out and winning 5 games, because year 2, you look at every team, a lot of teams in year 2, Tennessee can do exactly what Ole Miss did in year 2 and win 10 games. I kind of agree with that, because maybe not 10, but you should easily go out there and win 9, because like if you don't, I don't know, I feel like you have the fast-paced offense. I feel like next year or in the next 5 years, a lot of teams are going to be doing it. Heck, I watched Georgia's spring game, and they went up tempo in their second half of the game, and were like trying it out. So to see teams like Georgia and Florida kind of incorporating that lately, I feel like a lot of teams are going to be used to that. But I feel like there's no reason, being one of the only teams in the SEC, that it shouldn't throw teams off guard. And to talk about, the stat differential going from year 1 to year 2 of where he's been, you're getting so much more talent, arguably the best talent Hype's had in his whole coaching career. I feel like you should at least go out there and win 9 games in the season and then make it to a bowl game, try to get that 10th win in the bowl game.
So who in our secondary is going to stop the opposing offense?
Brandon Turnage, Kamal Hayden, Andre Turrentine, Christian Charles. I'm buying stock into the young guys, man. Deshaun Rucker. I mean,
I hope they prove me wrong. I really do. But I'm being a realist here. Like, you got to be realistic in these situations. Trust me. I would lose it over a 10-2 season. I would be beyond thrilled. I would buy the next flight to New Orleans for the Sugar Bowl. I mean, with no shavs out. But we're not going 10-2. So let's just pipe down a little bit. Let's just relax.
10-3 is easily possible, though.
No, it's not. We're not.
You wouldn't take losses to LSU, Bama, and Georgia only, and then go out there and win your bowl game.
We're not beating Florida. We're not beating Florida.
Drew.
Okay. If we lose to Bama, we lose to Georgia, we lose to LSU, which is on the road, we're losing that game, and we lose to Florida, that's 8-4. I mean, that's a win over Kentucky, Kentucky's going to be a top 20 team this year. Okay, that's a win over South Carolina,
damn, Drew. I think Chris is the new Larry this week. He wants you to name an Ole Miss defender from last season, Drew, that made their defense so good.
Well, I don't know. They were all injured last year. Like, they were down every 5 seconds. So I don't watch Ole Miss football, and when I did, I was one of the 102,000 people that threw a mustard ball. So,
hey,
allegedly,
that's a fucking fact. But that's what I'm saying, though. If you can go out there and put an offensive corp on the field with a quarterback like Matt Corral, if you have every weapon on offense, like, I feel like this season, this schedule is a lot easier than last season's schedule. You got Ball State, UT Martin, Akron. Like, you got an easy 4 wins, and I know we're not used to an easy, non-conference 4 wins. Pittsburgh might be a problem.
Not an easy win.
Pitt's not going to be an easy win, but they lost so many super seniors. They have Keaton Slavis, taking snaps. Like, Slavis is absolutely ridiculous. There's, Brew McCoy, he could have been a lot better at USC, but you know why he wasn't? Keaton Slavis was his fucking quarterback. That's why. I went back and watched a lot of film. This guy was not that great, man. Like, I just don't see him going out there and having a Kenny Pickett year. And you lost the offensive coordinator that made Pickett great.
Look, I hope you're right, okay? But I am not going to set myself up for heartbreak, because over 95% of this fan base does it every single
year. Drew, you don't think we're beating Pitt after they just lost Jordan Addison to –
We didn't beat them. I mean, we didn't beat them last year, and they weren't even good when we played.
They just lost the 2 guys that torched us all last year.
Yeah, and we also lost Kentucky 10 years ago. They had a wide receiver at quarterback. So, like, I'm not – just because they lost
who is the head coach?
I'm not going to –
Who is the head coach?
Who was the head coach? It was still Joker Phillips.
Oh my God!
It was 2011. Joker Phillips.
Oh God!
No, but I'm not. Look, 8-4. 8-4 means we go to.
We're going 10-3.
8-4 means we go to Tampa, we go to the Outback Bowl, have a nice little January bowl, and then we take that next step with Nico in this class, and we're going to go from there. So we're not going 10-3. Set yourself up to disappointment, and I don't want to hear it when we lose to Florida. And
Drew, we're not losing to Florida. I promised
really
ATB viewership by the season comes around, we'll have 3 or 4 more transfers. There'll be some crazy, crazy Hendon Hooker film that comes out week 1, week 2 against Ball State and Akron. And when we're going into week 3 of the episode podcast, Drew's going to predict a win against Florida. It's going to happen. I mean, he's going to be fully bought in like 3 weeks.
No, I'm not. I'm not going to be bought in.
Drew, there's no reason we shouldn't go out there and smoke Pitt.
We beat them twice since I was 6. Florida is not a guaranteed win. I'm not doing that.
We've beaten them one in my lifetime, and I'm over here believing. I'm believing in the hype. I'm on the hype train.
I'm not going to get emotionally invested with a coach like this. I've already done this with Butch Jones. I've already done it with Pro. I'm not compared to Dooley. You're not even listening correctly. Unbelievable. Oh my god.
To mention Pitt, man, let's talk about Jordan Addison. This kid has been making headlines the last 3 days. The rumors that USC and Alabama and a lot more teams. Well, first it came out that USC was a team to beat, that he was absolutely going to USC, that USC put a $3 million offer on the table, and they don't even have a fucking collective. Like, they literally don't even have a collective. They don't have, like, their boosters are probably running everything out there. Like, they have no club or anything, and we're $3 million deal is absolutely crazy. But now it's kind of come out ever since then that happened. Like, there's been like some NCAA announcements that they're going to kind of investigate how teams are using their collectives and who's funding these collectives, booster funded collectives, and how they're cracking down on that with money. I think it's kind of crazy that ever since that happened with the USC talk, there's magically 6 other teams that he's now considering that are reaching out via NIL purposes. And it's crazy to see. I know it's a new day and age of college football, and I can't say that we haven't done it or Tennessee hasn't attempted to do it, maybe in the past or present or whatever going on in recruiting now. But it's absolutely ridiculous to see. And if you're a Tennessee fan, you should absolutely be foaming out the mouth that when you go to fucking Pittsburgh, you don't have to play Kenny Pickett or Jordan Addison. But the sad fact is now, because of NIL and investigation problems, he might not go to USC. He might be going to fucking Tuscaloosa.
I saw that article today where he was working out with Bryce Young.
And
that I am not happy with that. I do not want that.
But Drew, they remember Alabama all the past 3 weeks. So we don't use NIL. We don't have advantages of NIL. We don't pay players.
They've been using NIL for like the last 15 years since Saban's been on there. Like, it is no coincidence that every single time that they have a big time recruit, they magically have like a Dodge Challenger just up all of a sudden. If they're I understand they have to say that, and like Saban's trying to have this like image that he's, some old timer coach that's not ahead of the game. They've been ahead of the game for almost 2 decades now. Like, they've been paying players that, like, everybody knows this is fact. Everybody has. We have too, and we've sucked because of it. So
I just shared in the group chat from 3 years ago in 2020. It was the meme of the fans crying and saying, you can't suck so bad and you win and then get recruits like that without paying or cheating. And it's a picture of Pruitt where it's like Croup Machine Go Bird. And I posted that way back then, in happiness. And I have the same meme of Hypo now with the same exact fucking words. But this is kind of just funny to see how that's reacted. And I think a lot of teams, they do have the money. Look at Miami, you look at USC, look at Texas. Speaking of Texas, they have all that money. They've been paying players for fucking decades. Newsflash, they didn't have a single pick in the NFL draft. Like, awful, absolutely fucking ridiculous.
Arkansas basketball had more players drafted in the NFL draft than Texas did.
Wait, hold on. I did not know this. Who got drafted?
I forgot his name. He was like a dual athlete. He played football and basketball, but he was on the basketball team this year. They had more draft picks than fucking.
Dude, that's absolutely fucking crazy.
Oh yeah.
And, the whole idea, bro, of a $3 million price tag on a transfer.
Well, I'm not going to slack on that, because I'm not going to act like we've been completely innocent either by any stretch of the imagination. But they got to get this under control, man. I mean, it's one, like, I feel like it's one thing doing NIL deals with recruits that are coming out of high school because they're not at a school. It's a whole other when you're literally already at a university. You're the Bellenkoff Award winner, the best wide receiver in the country. You're on their roster for the last 2 years, and then all of a sudden, like, you have another school that's tampering, giving you 7-figure. They gotta get this under control. I mean, I love anarchy. I love the madness, but we need to get a little, civil, a little civility in here.
Yeah,
with
I was kind of listening to a space last night, and it was actually the head guy of the Miami NIL fund or whatever his name is, that fucking attorney. It was like a really really late space. A lot of people were in there, including a known ball fan guy, Trey Wallace was in there. I was kind of listening, kid, and taking notes of what other teams kind of thought of collectives, and I really think it was mostly because he was salty that he was like a one man show. But his idea was that like shitting on collectives, that their whole idea isn't to help athletes, it's to pay to play. And obviously there has to be like some kind of format with it being brand new and stuff like that. And he had some really, really good points about that. Like, how do these kids just go to these events and you have to convince that it's, for their name, image, and likeness that they have all these events set up going into like a state law. And he was kind of thinking about it like as an attorney minded guy and put it into the perspective of college football, what he's doing in Miami, how it would and would stick in court. And it's crazy that collectives will have to do that because state laws are so much different than the NCAA laws.
mm-hmm.
And they still abide over. Like Tennessee, they released that state law where you can have full on contact with your coaches and have them compete in fundraisers and stuff like that. But the NCAA already has an adapted law where you literally can't do that. So it'll be interesting to see whether there's so many states that are adapting this law, how state laws go against NCAA laws when they're on their way out of the door. I know they kind of don't want to touch that probably with the 10-foot pole or whatever, but it's just crazy to see that all these teams, they didn't just magically jump in the race for this wide receiver after that fucking article came out for $3 million. Like, he's just not magically, thinking about these guys. These guys are absolutely paying money, and it's the day and age. Like, there's going to be 4 or 5 teams that can do that. But if you crack down on the whole collective side that they're talking about, I think a lot of teams kind of do lose their touch. And a lot of people were kind of foaming out the mouth saying, oh, Tennessee's in shambles, da, 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 da. I don't think they realize that all of our funds right now, they aren't booster funds. The stuff that Spire's been doing is all full-on donations, legal, like fan bought in ball club stuff. Like, it's not the boosters' money. Like, if you think that's all of our money right there, like, Tennessee's like,
I mean, it is genius too. I mean, I am, not ashamed whatsoever that, like, I donate $5 a month to Spire. Shout out to Spire.
yeah.
I mean, like, it's a genius system that they have over there. I love it. I mean, and it feels like the huge thing about this, it makes it feel like the fans are involved, like, in the whole entire process. And when you have that happen, it gets them emotionally invested. Like, those people are they're already emotionally invested in the first place, but they're even more invested financially because of that. And that gets people fired up. And I think that has to excite recruits, especially.
Oh, yeah.
These are all like donation from fans that are able to make this happen. I mean, it's unbelievable. But yeah, I mean, like, a little bit back to that though, with like the whole entire NIL situation, they got to figure out a situation. I think they're having some meetings in the next week or so, from what I've heard, about maybe implementing some rules regarding to that, especially if kids are in the portal. Against the NCAA rules, where a coach or a university could, is actively contacting a player that is already on another team, like, to sway them to come to their program. I mean, it's tampering. Yeah. But for some reason, if it's the NIL group necessarily, then it's not involved. They got to find a way that, like, it's only can be considered kids are in the portal.
I mean, if people are ridiculous about us now, and Chris has kind of pointed that out, I think the last thing that people should want is to have them regularly get involved in the NIL game, especially the pilot guys. Because if you think that Tennessee's, $25 million pot, like right now, of like what they're trying to do with Spire and their fund that they have set up and what number they want to get at now, if they get on a full let loose and the NCAA disappears and you get to run off state laws and what, Bill Lee is signing to play now, I think everyone should be worried, because you see USC and what teams are offering right now. Like, what Tennessee's doing legally right now is just the tip of the iceberg of what they have the potential to do with the name, image, and likeness. And I think it's just crazy. I think more people are starting to realize that, because I'm seeing more and more message boards kind of freaking out like, this is just like teams that would never have wanted regulated, including Alabama. Like, their message board is absolutely ridiculous, saying if Tennessee's like this now with NIL and baseball and everything, like if it translates on the field, we're in trouble. And it's just crazy to see people like taking notes like that. It's great. It has people in shambles, like the people that are used to doing it the most.
When people are talking about you and they're shit talking and they're jealous and they're accusing you of cheating, you are doing something right. I mean, you're doing something right. I mean, these are the same people, along with Florida fans and Georgia fans back in the 90s, were accusing Phil Fulmer and the gang, cheating on the recruiting trail as well. Like, so I mean, there's something going on right here in that aspect, if that's the case. But yeah, mean, absolutely comical of Bama fans to do that when they have been the most notorious cheaters for the last decade.
Yeah. Since we're on Bama, did you see the news that came out about their player this past weekend, Elias Ricks, the corner from LSU?
Oh, he got arrested.
Yeah, he got arrested for weed possession and a handgun, I think. And I think he, according to Chris over here, he was pulled over in a 100K AMG Mercedes. Like that shit right there.
Chris,
NIL.
we all know that his family gave him that $100,000 car.
Yeah, he definitely didn't get it as soon as he stepped into the state of Alabama. It just didn't happen.
Well, we know the punishment that he's going to get. You know, Saban's really
He'll get his car taken away. That's it.
He will get his car privileges taken away for about 10 minutes, and then he'll have to start the game against, I think they play Utah State in the season opener. He'll have to start that one.
That'll be his punishment. Like, he had to start against Utah State.
Start against Utah State. So,
man, yeah. I think it's just crazy. I think that's the good thing about RNIL. Like, you gotta put it in the hands of the right guys. And I think a lot of guys that if you go out there and earn it, especially you kind of saw that like basketball side of the thing. Like later in the year, Kennedy Chandler, Zakai Ziegler, more and more guys, like they started getting, play and getting time on the field. They got those deals. And I feel like if you can make sure like, the right guys are getting the deals and everything like going on like that to where they won't get in trouble, like an Elias Ricks thing, like I feel like that only helps you as a school and a university and as a like a collective, because if you have, good feedback, good light, good publicity is always publicity, great publicity for everything. Like you want the best light you can, especially in this day and age when every recruit coming in from high school, like these kids that are still kids and not college students, mind y'all guys, that people forget that these kids are seeing that and taking notes of what their future is going to be.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And talk a little bit more about basketball. Some big news on the recruiting trail for next Thursday. Julian Phillips is finally where he's going to be playing next year. Obviously, Tennessee's in the mix. Kansas State, Auburn, I believe USC's in the mix as well, and Florida State. And he also has the G League and
Overtime Elite.
Overtime Elite. What's that?
So Overtime, the fucking, they're basically like the under the radar or what the like what football is, and like a YouTube channel that turned into like a big ass thing, kind of funded by ESPN and Omar and them. They kind of run like House of Highlights, and they've created their own basketball league. It's like basically like a celebrity basketball thing, but for kids that don't want to go to the G League or Pro.
Right.
And I don't know. I think that's like the worst thing you can do as a kid. Like you might get in a G League off of it, but I just don't see the point in that. I think that's obviously a probably like paid to promote kind of thing, kind of just throw it in there and put it in your top schools. Overall for Julian Phillips, I think that kid's one of probably the top prospects in this class. The whole thing that happened at LSU was a blessing for us because it was for that Will Wade, a strong ass offer was probably in place. Luckily, Will Wade got, tossed for before previous NIL legal law stuff. So big get there. I think Tennessee has the best shot. I know they came off a visit. He went to Auburn. He went to a lot of schools that we touched on last week that he's been kind of going around. More and more dialogues coming out that, it's kind of been quiet, but the still feel is that Tennessee's in a really, really good spot there. Auburn landed that power forward transfer, small forward transfer this past weekend from that D2 school that had absolutely ridiculous stats. So I feel like if you're Julian Phillips, you want to be an impact guy. If NIL is on the table here and it's like a real consideration, it's a starting spot. If the court matters, it should come in here, play immediately, be an immediate key guy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, absolutely. I was a little bit nervous about his visit to Auburn last weekend. One positive that there could be taken out of this was that he did visit Tennessee a couple weeks ago, and after that visit, I believe he canceled his visit to Kansas State. So I think that's huge, especially considering the fact that Kansas State hired his AAU coach. So I think that speaks a little bit of volumes on how much he enjoyed it here. I think it's going to be tough, like you said, though, I mean, this kid's been so quiet about his recruiting process. It kind of like reminds me a little bit like how Triple J was during his process when he was coming to high school as well. He's not really the type of kid that's going to make a massive announcement. I mean, literally, this was the first thing he probably announced about anything from LSU. So
yeah,
I think the Vols have a good shot. I don't know. He's a 5-star. I think he's the number 2 center, I think, in his class. So really good player, very versatile, very athletic. And I think we got a great shot with him. Now, I don't know if, I'll be honest with you, if Barnes is going to start him over Kamwa or Plavsic.
Off the rip. I don't know. I think
I do, but we also got to remember Barnes didn't start 2 5-star centers last year until Roche was playing awful and Kamwa blew out his knee. So I mean, I hope he comes here. I really do. I think it add a tremendous amount of depth, and I think it would elevate our game tremendously, and I think it would be a respectable top 20, top 15 team if he does commit here. But, you never know. You never know. But I think we got a great shot for next Thursday, though.
Yeah. I mean, you landed Tyreek Key. If you can land this kind of guy, it's not a transfer in this one. It's a still high school kid. But, I mean, it's like this guy is easily a one and done. There's no reason why he shouldn't be. You kind of lost Brandon Huntley Hatfield. This could fill a huge, huge void there. I feel like, I think this guy has all the potential in the world. Seeing his AAU, highlights and everything with who he played with against and the competition he played against, there's no reason he shouldn't come in here and light it up if we do land him. I think we're in the best spot. I think the biggest thing, though, has to do with Tennessee adapting to the new age of college basketball, and that's with the highest rated recruits. To be able to go in there and offer something on the table, you being Rick Barnes, you got to go in there and let these collectives speak for you. And if a guy that's never used it before, I know he hates going in there and giving kids any kind of deal straight up or promising them anything on the court. But with NIL, like every kid's going to get some piece of NIL. You have to be open to the idea. And I think that's kind of why you're seeing Tennessee gain some more buzz. I think they're kind of opening up more to the idea of the day and age of college basketball.
Oh, yeah. And he's not going to like it this year. He's going to have to like it for next year classes. I mean, we're going to have at least maybe 4, 5, 6 guys that are going to be, either graduating or leaving or, or what's. It's going to be a mass exodus after this year.
Do you think after we saw it all this year with Coach K, Roy Williams, the Xavier coach, a lot of guys that, had plans to, coach for 3 or 4 more years that were going to, go on and, thought that, always never had a problem with recruiting. New day and age, just kind of sped up that process to kind of get them out the door. Do you think, with Rick Barnes, a guy that's been so against NIL like everyone else and, the path that other coaches have taken just like Rick, do you think if it gets like worse and doesn't get stopped soon that it might push more coaches like Rick and maybe even Rick Barnes himself to kind of like call it quits and hang it up after a good year?
I think so. I also think you got to remember, well, the man's in his late 60s.
Yeah,
he's at retirement age in the first place. I think. I just threw everyone off. But I still expect him. I know he signed a 2-year extension, but I still expect him to retire within the next couple of years. I think it wouldn't really even surprise me one bit after, if with Triple J and Vescovi leaving, that he retires after that as well. So,
yeah,
certainly a possibility. But I think the huge thing for us, though, is that Tennessee is finally like an attractive job again in the college basketball market, considering the foundation and the groundwork that Rick Barnes has done in the last several years, where we'll legitimately NIL deals that we have with Spire and everything, we could legitimately get about, as a head coach. So,
I was thinking about it, man. I was like, if Tennessee makes it to the Final Four and has a successful run, is Rick Barnes still an active basketball coach right now? Like, does he call it quits after he finally achieves something? Like, do you think he's still chasing that one last season to see if he can do it?
I would honestly even argue that he would leave after an Elite 8 run, honestly. Just because we haven't been to the Elite 8 only but once, in our program history, and know that he would have his mark that way at the last send-off. It wouldn't surprise me one bit if he did. But, the way that he's been coaching and the way how aggressive he has been on the recruiting trail the last couple of years, it still makes me think he has a little bit in the tank left. But, yeah, I think in the next couple of years, though, next 2, 3, maybe 4 years, you can see him leaving and we have, someone replace him. But the program is only going to go up, though. I'm excited who we could potentially have to replace him. I don't want him to go, but got to be realistic. The man's almost years old, for God's sake. So,
yeah. It's just crazy. Not only is, his age, but to see stuff like NIL, not only changing players' lives, but coaches' lives and what they think for their future and how much they want to coach and how much they want to just deal with it to go into a kid's home and kind of, have to, spit out a number, like a little money number, like a value on a kid that might see himself being, worth way more. And we saw that with football lately with the wide receiver, Kyle Casper. That happens a lot and it's going to happen a lot more. And it's not because you didn't build a great relationship with him. It's because of little money. It's going to start, ruining kids' college decisions. So I'm just curious to see how it kind of values there, not only Rick Barnes, but going into football and baseball, everything else. It's going to be a huge, huge game. And if it doesn't get regulated, with this whole NCAA thing, if they don't get it done on their way out the door of, kind of disbanding and going away from everything. I think it's could really, really change the game quick.
Yeah. I mean, they really got to get this under control and taken care of. I think a huge step is the fact that finally Mark Emmert is going to leave.
Yeah.
Leave next year as an official date or time that he's leaving. But I think it's a huge step in the right direction that he's finally leaving, because I think he's been one of the biggest jokes of a leader of a sports organization or for the NCAA, not only just for the NCAA of all time, but one of the biggest jokes of commissioners / presidents that sports has ever seen personally. But they got to get some of that taken care of. My biggest fear is that this is going to get so out of control that, like, that you could potentially even see all the Power 5 conferences even potentially even creating their own league where for football, basketball, and baseball and those sports as well. But yeah, they got to get this situated. we got to stop paying kids $3 million who are already at college to go to another school.
Yeah. Sorry, I got some Cindy breaking news. Not even really breaking news. I don't even know. A guy on Instagram that's going around a really good post is Logan Aiello posting a commitment to Tennessee. Kid from IMG Academy. It says he's like a class of 26.
What is he, like in 8th grade? Like,
I have no clue. I go to 24/7. According to 24/7, he's a linebacker on 24/7. Has no offers.
okay.
An IMG kid. You kind of wonder. It was reposted. I saw it because it was reposted by Carnell Tate. Kind of wonder if like Tennessee's kind of going in there and getting a pipeline and going with the IMG kids. You got Carnell Tate, Francis, Devin Hyatt, Winston Watkins. He's a 2025 they offered there early out of IMG Academy. It's weird to see, but if Tennessee can go in there and get, a connection with IMG Academy, that'll be probably the best thing we could do.
That would be huge. I mean, dude, IMG always consistently puts out the best recruits in all. I mean, not just football, but basketball and baseball every single year. We can start getting recruits over there on a year-to-year basis. That is massive, and that's only going to spread all across Florida as well.
Okay. He graduates from Tennessee in 2026. He's a 2022 walk-on linebacker apparently. So Tennessee getting 2 walk-ons today.
Oh, okay, there we go.
Yeah, so the 2026 is for that. Still though, I mean, if you got a 2022 commit like that, I mean, gotten guys, Francis is posting it, Carnell is posting it. Obviously, there has to be some kind of traction for him to want to go to Tennessee out of nowhere this late in the process.
If the kid's playing at IMG Academy, he's got to be worth a damn. So, I mean,
either that or he's fucking loaded with money. So, you never know. But I mean,
that's
big get there.
I think you could probably agree with me. This Memorial Day, I think that's going to be
ridiculous.
That's going to be a weekend. I think a lot of Tennessee fans are never going to forget. So
I mean, bro, I've mentioned the names, but you got Brandon Ennis, Carnell Tate, Francis Mayago. You got literally like 3 or 4 offensive tackle prospects, including Bryson Sanders, who finally said his official visit to Tennessee for that weekend. Defensively, Shadavian Bradley, Vic Burley, Tamarian Parker, CJ Allen, Jeremiah Thielander at the linebacker position, Gus Howard, like so many guys for 2023 that are absolutely going crazy. Tennessee's going into Georgia and like all the southern states and finally getting some traction, which is really, really crazy to see. If you can go 3 for 3 in 2023 with Carnell, Francis, and Devin Hyatt, that would be an absolute steal. And I would love it even more because I don't know if you saw that the breaking news that came out of IMG Academy today, but it is absolutely crazy if you're a Tennessee fan and you know who your prospects are. So new defensive coordinator for IMG football. Are you ready for this, Drew?
Go for
it.
It's
Brian Niedermeyer.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
No. Oh, no.
Oh, no.
I do not like that.
I don't either.
That's bad news right there. That is very bad news for us right there.
So first thing first, kind of pops up to mind like, oh, fuck. Because you think about our targets now and how he was kind of pushed out with what Pruitt and him did together. Everyone that's around the scene and everyone around kind of close to it said that it won't have any effect on our relationship with our 2023 guys, and Carnell and offensive guys are all on the offensive side of the ball. But I just know in the back of my mind that Brian Niedermeyer is so petty. The guy, like we named the guy Moose, and like we appreciated his fuckboy energy, but that guy was like full on fuckboy. Like there's a reason why he's at a high school now and has been traveling around high schools. Like
this man hates our guts. Like
he hates us.
He hates us. He hates us with a passion. Like, that's not good. I know he says it's not going to affect anything.
It's bullshit.
It's going to affect something. It's going to. I will say this though, about that Memorial Day weekend, and I think Brando, you could agree with me on this. I'm not going to say too much, but all I'm going to say is if we have one guy that commits that weekend, just expect a domino effect. I got a feeling.
Yeah.
You're going to see if one guy commits, you're going to see 2, 3, talk like LeBron, 4, 5, 6, 7. I mean, you're going to see several guys that weekend say they're all. So
I was told, I'm not going to leak my sources, but I was told that May is going to be like a really, really, really good month football wise, and that if we were happy about April, that May is going to be really, really good. Well, 4 days in, we have 2 huge impact transfers that are coming in automatically. On top of that, you have the Memorial Day weekend down the road. You have so many guys that you're kind of close with, guys including in the secondary, on the defensive side of the ball especially. I feel like that's going to be getting a lot hotter soon. You kind of have built around the D-line, in-state with Caleb Herring, Nathan Robinson, Trevor Duncan. But now you got guys that can come in and fill those other spots. I think having guys like C.J. Allen, Brandon Strozier, like when Jack was on the pod, he talked about those 2 guys especially. Like Tennessee values the Peach State, having those guys coming up, Vic Burley. Then you have the IMG connection. Everywhere they're going with classes, like all these guys are going out there, they're connected. And to build relationships like that with guys that are important, like you already know they're in group chats. I know they're in group chats behind the scenes, like in each other's ears, like really, really considering Tennessee. So come in, have that domino effect. I've always said you get kids at Tennessee on our campus, which they couldn't do because of the sanctions and all the COVID stuff.
Right.
And then on top of that, the investigation. Like you get kids on campus and look what you're seeing now. Like everyone's like, oh, money, money, money. But is it really though? Is it really that? Because Tennessee's been held back from long before the money problem. Like Tennessee's, always had something in their pocket, and we saw it, especially with Niedermeyer and them. But like to come in now, like you're getting kids back on campus, it's not just because of what you're offering them via Spire.
I think it's perfectly said. I don't even.
I think if you see a domino effect, it's going to be with guys that know each other.
Oh yeah.
Coming in, guys that know each other. I think to mind like Carnell Tate, Francis, Devin. That's a trio right there.
Yep.
C.J. Allen, Brandon Strozier, Jack. One of them's already committed, and the other 2 guys, Tennessee's in their top 2 teams. C.J. Allen down to Georgia and Tennessee. If Georgia takes him, he's a Georgia native, so kind of leaning there. But you land a guy like C.J. Allen and talk about fixing that linebacker room. Brandon Strozier down to us in Clemson. It just absolutely needs guys that are going to be 4-year projects, guys that seem like they're going to buy in from all the interviews, like really good kids. Doesn't seem like any locker room problems. I think they're doing it the right way, getting the right kids. And like, I'm just super excited, man, because it's going to get crazy here soon.
Oh,
yeah. Like, I think we're sitting right now. We currently sit at the 7th class. I think we're definitely finishing top 5.
I'll just say this. I think this is going to wind up, at least, as far as like modern football recruiting, databases and outlets and stuff like that. This is going to be the greatest class Tennessee's ever had. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say it. So
I won't say that because Tennessee's had like top 2 classes before, top 3 classes. Like, we got to remember that.
If you look at those top 2 classes, those classes only had 2. I mean, only 2 5-stars.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm telling you, I genuinely believe this is like I'm not only a top 5 class, but I think this is even a top 3. I mean, I'd argue even a top 2. If they're going in the trajectory that we all think that they're going, I think this is absolutely going to be one of the best recruiting classes, if not the best recruiting class that we've had in the last 2 decades.
Yeah. I think it'll be up there with our 2015 class. I think that was Butch's best class, and it's kind of sad. I mean, we not even look back on that, but the amount of talent that you did have back then that you didn't do anything with, and the amount that transferred out. I think there was a tweet that of like the last like 4 classes of our classes, like at least like 75% of the total number have transferred out. Like only a certain amount of kids are at Tennessee, which is like absolutely crazy. And then to have like a number 3 class and only a certain amount of them like ended up fully panning out. Like it's just criminal what happened. But I think you saw this year, if you can get that kind of talent, 6 guys that never even got coached by this guy and barely knew this guy come March last year, got drafted and just believing and following what he does. So you got guys that lock in, especially your own recruits, the guys will excel in your system. It's only the start, man. It's about to be, Tennessee has a real shot of getting back to prominence, not only on the field, but off the field and going to the future of the NFL.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Shit.
Well, we didn't do too bad with only 2 of us. Now Over.
You know, honestly, actually, this burn it down, but actually, we had a good ass show. We didn't fuck it up.
Didn't fuck it up. A lot of positives. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of things to look forward to. A lot of things to look out for this weekend, especially. Yeah, I mean, hopefully, you know, we get Lowe and Alex back in here and get the full gang next week.
Yeah,
Definitely
be
miss
a
them.
big week. You know, ready to be the villain this week. It's Kentucky, so you know I couldn't leave the show off without saying getting them back in the coal mine. But we're gonna be there, so they get to go back to the coal mine anyway. So I really, you know, couldn't really go off with that. But there's no reason we shouldn't be coming back next week talking about a full-on sweep and Tony Vitello doing some crazy dangerous shit again. I mean, tossing.
Some anarchy, some madness from the baseball team, and I'm sure that's going to ensure next weekend against Georgia too, which I'm fired up.
Oh yeah, I'll be the Knox for fucking Georgia. I'm definitely coming.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh me. I guess if you wanna, that'll probably do it for us this week. I guess just be on the lookout. I think Tennessee, they'll be hosting 3 transfers this weekend, so maybe we come back next week. Jalen Robinson, like I said, Sam Houston State, the other Sam Houston State running back, and the Arizona State defensive lineman that I mentioned, Omar, earlier. Those are 3 guys that could be on commitment watch. A lot of these guys that do transfer and go and take official visits in football, they end up making a move relatively soon after that. So as long as Tennessee can lock it down, they're taking our eyes. I think if they have a great visit, there should be some great movement. Hopefully next week come back and talk about that. A really good baseball sweep, and it's probably some future NIL stuff. But other than that, that's going to do it for us this week. Appreciate y'all joining us, and have a great night.
Absolutely. Go Vols, baby.
Let's go.